Shalom Aleichem Rabbi Isai. I was asked to share a few ideas with the Hamidim in America about the period that we're experiencing right now, the period of Bein HaMetzorim, the 3 weeks between Shavuos Tammuz and Tisha B'av. There's an interesting thing that we find in the parshas of the Torah, that usually the parshas of the Torah come out coinciding with things that have to do with the time of the year, and usually find the connection between the parshas that come out during the 3 weeks. Last week we learned the parshas of Matas Masrei. Now, Matas begins talking about the Indian of Nidor, making a promise to Hashem, obligating yourself to give something to Hashem. Now, one would begin to think, what's the connection that we find between making a neder, between promising something to Hashem, and Bein HaMetzorim, this 3 week period that we're warning for the Beis HaMikdash? There's a Tzaddik HaKohen says in a number of places, he says that we find that whenever there's something that appears in the Torah, a concept, an idea, appears in the Torah for the first time, that's the place that we learn out to everywhere else what that idea and what that concept represents. And the first time, where do we find the concept of neder for the first time in the Torah? So in Parshas Vayetze, when Yaakov Avinu was running away from Esav and he's going to the house of Lavan, so the pasuk says over there, Vayida Yaakov neder leimor. Yaakov made a neder saying, if Hashem will be with me, and will watch me on the path that on the journey that I'm going to be taking right now, which I'm going on, and he gives me all the things that I need. When I come back to the house of my father in peace, Hashem will be to me my God. Now, what that means exactly, that's the first talk about. Obviously, Yaakov Avinu wasn't making conditions, but we find that the first place that the Torah talks about the idea of neder is by Yaakov Avinu. Now, what is the special thing about that place that Yaakov Avinu made the neder? Now, we know that Yaakov Avinu was at the Makom HaMikdash at that point. That was the place where the Beis HaMikdash was supposed to be. There's obviously some type of a kesher between the neder that he made to the Beis HaMikdash. Now, the Medrash says on that pasuk of Yaakov Avinu making his neder, the Medrash says that we learn out from here that pasuk says lamor, that it's saying something. It's lamor l'doros. It's telling us for the future generations that a person should know when he's in a situation of Torah, of difficulty, then he should make a neder. Yaakov pasuk neder tchila. Yaakov Avinu opened up with a neder first. Therefore, anybody who will make a neder after him will wind up making that neder dependent on Yaakov Avinu. Like the pasuk says in Tehillim, Asher nishbal Hashem neder le'avir Yaakov. That when David HaMelech made a neder to Hashem that he's not going to go to sleep, he's not going to take part of any of his pleasures in Kuf Lamed Beis, David HaMelech tells us that he made a neder le'avir Yaakov, to the God of Yaakov. And the Medrash says, le'avir Avram le'avir Yitzchak en ksiv kan. It doesn't say that he made a neder to the God of Avram or to Yitzchak, neder le'avir Yaakov. It says that he did it to the God of Yaakov Avinu. Why is that? David HaMelech was making a neder then to make a promise that he's not going to sleep, he's not going to give himself any type of pleasure until he takes care of that job to make sure that the Beis HaMikdash is going to be taken care of. And then he made dependence on Yaakov Avinu. What's the connection? What's the connection to neder with the Beis HaMikdash? So the Dal Yeshua brings from the Rabbeinu Bechaya and the Ramban that the word neder means the concept of dira la Hashem, a house for Hashem. Because the concept of neder is when you promise something to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when you tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm giving something to you, it's making a connection between me and you, between me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the place where a person can find the greatest connection between him and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is obviously the Beis HaMikdash. And therefore the concept of neder is credited to Yaakov Avinu, where he's promising that this will be the Makom HaMikdash, and David HaMelech, when he's promising the Beis HaMikdash, the concept of neder is that concept and idea of connecting ourselves with Hashem. We obviously all want to feel close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We want to feel close to Hashem. And, we grow up in a generation where at times we just feel comfortable with who we are. We have our lives, we have our comforts. But every now and then and we try to come close to Avodas Hashem, sometimes there's something that stands in our way. There's something that gets in the way. We try to daven, and something gets cloudy in the middle. That's something which is separating, that is karvus, that connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So now, maybe it would take a little bit of time for us to think how we can build that connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu now in order to be able to tighten that, and that's our way of helping with the rebuilding of the Beis HaMikdash. So, Maisa, how can we do that? So the Gemara in Yuma, that Tesam and Beis. The Gemara says like this: Mikdash Rishon Mipnei Machara. What was the reason that the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed? The Gemara answers, Mipnei Gimel Dvarim Shahayu Bai, because of the three averos that they were doing: Avodah Zarah, idol worship, Begil Arayis, adultery, B'shvichas Damim, and murder. And the Gemara proves all of them. And the Gemara continues later on. It says, Ava Mikdash Sheni, but the second Beis HaMikdash, Shayu Oiskim B'Torah Mitzvahs, that they were then doing Torah mitzvahs, they weren't doing averos. The Gemilas Chasadim, and they were doing Chesed. B'nei Macharav. Why was the Beis HaMikdash destroyed? B'nei Shahaitza by Sinas Chinam, because there was hatred between them. The Lamed is coming to teach us Sheshkula Sinas Chinam Kineged Sholosh Averos, that when you put them on a scale, the Gimel Averos Chamurais and Sinas Chinam, they balance each other out. In other words, Sinas Chinam is just as serious of an offense as the Gimel Averos Chamurais. The Gemara continues later on something strange. The Gemara says, if Yochanan and Rav Elazar the Amri Tarvayu, both Rav Yochanan and Rav Elazar say, Yochanan and Rav Elazar the Amri Tarvayu, they both say, B'shaynim shenizgala avaynam, by the first Beis HaMikdash where it was revealed their sin, nizgala kitza, it was revealed to them the end of their exile. Achraynim, but the second Beis HaMikdash, the last one, shalay nizgala avaynam, where it wasn't revealed their sin, lay nizgala kitza, it wasn't told to them, revealed to them the end of their galus. So the question is obvious. What do you mean it doesn't tell us what the sin is? We just said that the first Beis HaMikdash was because of the three Averos Kamurais, the series of Averos, and the second Beis HaMikdash was because of Sinas Chinam. So how could you tell me that we don't know the Avera of Sinas Chinam? We don't know the Avera of the second Beis HaMikdash. We know that the Avera is Sinas Chinam. So I once heard from a very chashuv Yid, Chaim Val, from his Mashgiach in Yeshiva Sateris Yisrael. He said a beautiful word. He says, when the Gemara says, this Avera we know, and that Avera we don't know, it doesn't mean that we don't know, that the Chazal don't tell us what it is. The problem is with us, that we don't know. Because Avodah Zarah, idol worship, and Gilui Arayis, and adultery, and Shvichas Damim, and murder, it's clear cut. It's clear cut what the Avera is. I know what murder is. I know what it is, and it's clear to me what it is, and therefore we're able to control that. The danger of Sinas Chinam is that we don't know what it is. We don't realize the seriousness of it. It used to be once upon a time, when a person spoke bad about a person, all of a sudden he would get tziyas, he would get leprosy, he got a straight message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're tampering with Avos Yisrael, you're tampering with the connection to another Yid. That when we had a Beis HaMikdash, we had that. Nowadays, we don't realize that serious offense of sinna, of hurting another person, of having a hatred towards another person. We grow up in a generation that we sometimes classify people. There's the Litzish, there's the Hasidish, there's the Sephardi, and in each one you have the Mirrors, and you have the Briskers, and you have the Panovitchers, and then you have the Klosenberg, and the Satmar, and the Baviv, and then you have Moroccans, and Iraqis, all different types, and we start classifying, he's not my speed, he's not my type, he's not for me. If a person would just take a little bit of time now, and to realize that when a person is different, it's not that that doesn't mean that I'm not supposed to appreciate him. I learn from him. I take from him what I could see to add to my avodas Hashem, and I appreciate him for who he is and what he is, and make that connection. And we work and we build that when we realize that the whole idea of neder that we mentioned before, of making connection with Hashem, where every single yid is a Talmud Kim. So if we work on making that connection with another person and loving another yid, that in a sense is our connecting ourselves with HaKadosh Baruch Hu as well. With Hashem, we should take that koyach and that the time out now to be able to work on that Indian of Sinam, to find that person, to love another person, and in that sense be able to put our brick and our cement into building the Beis HaMikdash.